What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Jared's Books. I am Jared, and it has been quite a while. It's summertime, so kid activities, swim team, going to the beach, that kind of thing. It's kind of just slowed down the reading process. Also, the book that I'm going to review today, I this is the third time I've read it. The first time as an adult, and I wanted to really digest the book and take my time and not just read it for the sake of a review. So, the book that I'm talking about today is John Steinbeck's East of Eden. Some consider this book to be his magnum opus or his most famous novel. I guess they would compare that with maybe Grapes of Wrath. I think it's between those two. John Steinbeck's my favorite author of all time. I've read his books multiple times, and this one for the third time. So this book, I guess having it fresh, I finished it last night, so having it fresh in the memory, it's outstanding. It's definitely one of my favorite reads, probably why I've read it so many times. It's a classic American family saga. What's really going to stick out in this novel for you is going to be the way John Steinbeck develops his characters and, more importantly, turns the landscape itself into a character. John Steinbeck was raised in the Salinas Valley, California. He always incorporates this setting into his stories, or I would say about 90% of them, and really makes the landscape come alive. This one, maybe not so much as his other novels. This one is all about the characters. You're going to get some of the most notable characters of all time. You're going to get Lee. He's the Asian house helper that's a best friend, that's actually a father figure to the two other characters I'll get to in a minute. He's hilarious at times, philosophical. You have Adam Trask, who's the dad, and then his whole family saga with his brother and his wife. You have Cathy, who's probably one of the biggest villains of all time in literature, like right up there with like Darth Vader and Sauron and things like that. She's she's evil in every way you can possibly imagine. And then you've got two great brothers, which the story really focuses on, and that's going to be Cal Trask and Aaron Trask. They're non-identical twins, and the story East of Eden, it really parallels the biblical telling of the story of Cain and Abel. And it's really the story of these brothers' relationship with their father. And one's a little bit more well beloved by the father, and the other one's trying to kind of buy back that relationship or win over that relationship. And what ensues is a crazy family saga. The beginning of the story deals with Adam Trask, so that's going to be the father, and his relationship to his brother Charles, who was a little bit more a darker individual, a little bit more violent individual. Adam Trask goes into the military against his will. It was his father's wishes, and then he gets out, does some drifting, and then ends up settling down on the ranch with his brother. They meet Cathy, who comes into their life. She's just bad news all around. They take her in, and then eventually Adam falls in love with her, is betrayed by her. Then he has the two sons, who are pretty much raised by Lee, the Asian Oriental housekeeper, who's much more than a housekeeper. So what you're going to take away from this book, there's a number of themes going on here. So yes, there's the Cain and Abel story, but a lot of the story revolves around what the characters were discussing in the beginning. It's going to be Sam Hamilton, who's a friend of the family's, Lee, and then Adam Trask are all discussing the old Hebrew word that shows up in the Bible in different dialects. Timshel is the word, and it's translates into "thou mayest." And there's a big discussion back and forth on the actual meaning of the word and what it means. My takeaway from it is like the choice. You always have the choice to choose a path, or like a free will choice. And the book plays around this quite a bit with characters choosing certain events that take them on different paths. And I don't want to give too much away about the ending, but the word comes huge into play in the ending. And the ending of this novel is just like any other John Steinbeck novel. If you've read them, it it ends just the way it's supposed to end. It's not a fairy tale ending by any means. It's not an overly dramatic ending by any means. It's just a John Steinbeck ending. And it's perfect for the novel. Other themes that you're going to get out of this, of course, are going to be, your good versus evil. I wouldn't say there's too much of that. Um, Father-son relationships. There's a heavy amount of that in there. Not just from Cal and Aaron and their relationship to their father, Adam, but also Abra or Abra. She's, I think it's Abra. She's a kind of the love interest between the two brothers. They talk about her father quite a bit in the middle, towards the end of the book, and then I think the one of the biggest underlying themes is children growing up are not held to be looked at the same way as their parents. Like, you don't inherit what your parent. You don't have to be who your parents were, and that's a big thing into it, especially like with Adam Trask, with his father being a like a military hero that was kind of like shady how he got there. Like, Adam doesn't have to be his father, and he really doesn't choose that path. Um, the twins, Aaron and Cal, they don't have to be like their father, like a rancher or a businessman or anything like that. Lee doesn't have to be like always like a servant kind of person, um, and so on. I think there's a big heavy thing in that. Some of the critiques that this novel gets is that it's a pretentious read. I've heard that a lot. I've heard other YouTubers, booktubers describe the book as like one of the most pretentious reads. I do think that at times the book does slow down and goes on philosophical tangents, but they only last a page at a time. Whereas, and this isn't a slam on Stephen King. I love Stephen King. I have a ton of his novels, done a ton of reviews. Stephen King will go off on 30, 50 page tangents that take you way out of the story. So John Steinbeck doesn't do that. He does go on those philosophical things for a page or two. I don't think it's overly pretentious. I don't think the vocabulary or word usage or structure is overly pretentious, especially if you were going to look at something like a Cormac McCarthy, which, if you've watched my channel, I'm not a fan of Cormac McCarthy. I think he's probably the most pretentious author that has the most pretentious stories out there. They don't even make any sense grammatically. So this book it's an easy read. It is a longer read. So this is like the more like Penguin Classics, a format that I picked up for cheap. This one was still around like 600 pages, but you can see the words are pretty small on it. There's a bigger version of the novel that was a little bit more eye friendly and stuff like that you may want to pick up. But this book is renowned for a reason. This book is famous for a reason. This is one of the greatest stories ever told. Um, as far as like a family saga, if that's what you're looking for, it's great. I give the book a 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10, whatever you want to rate it. Like I said, the third time I've read it, and first time as an adult. First time I read it, I was a punk 15-year-old lifeguard, and it was raining for a week, and I just sat in the guard shack and I read the book. I remember being blown away. It was probably the third John Steinbeck novel I'd read at that time. And then I read it when I was a young adult, maybe like in my 20s, and I don't think I took much of it in. I really took it in this time. It's a fantastic read. It's a fantastic story. People think it might be that it's heavy, like John Steinbeck kind of has a reputation for having heavier stories. This is a heavy story, but at times it's surprisingly comical. There's times when you'll laugh out loud at some of the interactions between the characters and some of the stuff that's going on. So there is a lightheartedness underneath the heavy themes in the book. The ending is beautiful. It's fantastic. I like the way it was done. A lot of people don't think so. So definitely check it out. If you're looking for a classic read, you can't go wrong with it. Check out his other works as well. In other news, I'll have some poetry books coming up that I did some reviews on. That's kind of where I've been the last couple months. Is that uh, I kind of steered away from the classic literature kind of thing, and I really got into some poetry. And I took about like 2 months really kind of developing my own writing. And I put together a full poetry manuscript. Some of it did end up getting published, which was pretty cool. Um, it was great. It wasn't pretty cool. It was fantastic. And then I made a full manuscript out of it, and it's out there. I'm also still working on my novel. Like I had a novel 90% done, and I kind of canned it, and I started a new one, and we're about 25,000 words in. So I mean, we're in it, we're cooking, and I really like it. So, and I'm enjoying the writing process again, which I think is the most important. So I guess that's kind of like the key takeaways here is, you know, when we're reading all these books and stuff, I think as avid readers, sometimes we're reading for like the next thing and the next page, and maybe not immersing ourselves in the story so much, or digesting the story like we're supposed to. And that's really why I took my time with East of Eden. That's really why I kind of steered off and refreshed with my own writing, with my own poetry, and read some poetry just to get a different a different outlook on writing. Hope that makes sense. I know that's a little bit of a soapbox, but these things aren't planned. These videos aren't planned. Where I come up here, I hit record. There is a new backdrop. That's just because I rearranged my office. So let me know what you think about it. I'm almost positive that some of you will. For positive or negative, it is what it is. Let me know in your comments what you think about East of Eden. That was why I got into this channel, is I wanted your feedback. I wanted the back and forth. I think I do a pretty good job of responding to all your comments, good and bad. I'd like to hear what you thought about East of Eden, of John Steinbeck in general. Um, if there's any other classic, American stories, American literature that you think, I like this genre. I thought about reading Grapes of Wrath, but I always like to ask you guys what to read next. So I'm done with it. What to read next? Dune 3 is supposed to come out later this year. I really enjoyed the first two novels. Maybe I should read that. I'm open to anything. So fire away and let me know what you might want to hear. As far as the book club kind of flopped with Pillars of the Earth. I tried to get it going. If you guys want me to get it going, I will. Maybe make some recommendations. Maybe days that work better for you, that we could all get together and do like a YouTube live stream. But I'd like to get the channel going again. It's been 3 months, been too long, and I really enjoy doing this and getting the feedback. So let me know what you think. Put in your suggestions. Please give me a like, subscribe. Really helps me out, gives me motivation and that kind of thing too, just to gain a bigger audience. So as always, thanks for stopping by. Keep reading. Talk soon.